For the first time, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the former Minister for Infrastructure, now Leader of the Opposition, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, member for East Castries, member of Parliament. And as a former Minister for Infrastructure, I thought I would start off, there's a lot to discuss, but to start off here with your thoughts on the current school debacle, school repairs.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Good afternoon. It's the first time I've been with you.
Yep.
And I want to tell you, I know you as a little boy.
There you go. I haven't grown up yet.
At your dad's home, were you still as troublesome as you are now?
Well, it's not my fault. It's not
By the
my
way,
fault.
how is your dad?
He's all right. He's going in for surgery tomorrow.
Yeah.
And my mom is over there, so it's thoughts and prayers time.
Yeah.
But he's a strong dude, so I think he'll pull through.
I know, and he really loved your first daughter. Remember your daughter?
Yeah, well, don't say first like they are five. It's the only daughter. Only daughter.
Yeah. well, thanks for having me, and good afternoon to all your listeners. The first time I've had the privilege to be on your show, and I want to thank you for doing that. You asked something about it in the schools. It's surprising that the minister is saying that. Let me tell you what happened. When we came into government, we shifted the repair of schools from education to infrastructure because we had all the synergies at infrastructure. The engineers were there, the technical people were there. So we moved the whole department from education, we put in infrastructure. So the infrastructure would handle that's where all the talent was, and that's where all the expertise was.
Okay.
Good. We moved it. We did a comprehensive assessment of all school buildings, including Government House. That was done by a quantity surveyor. That document is there. It's Ministry of Infrastructure. Comprehensive, all the schools. That was there. I want to tell you, some of the schools are in a bad state. The last Minister of Education, Dr. Lewis, he made that point. Because the school plant is an old plant. You must understand, the only new schools or buildings were built on the labor from 1997. The remainder of the schools, the plant is an old plant. People don't realize that. It's an old plant. We were the ones who built all the schools, the new secondary schools, Rosalie, etc. And Hess did some schools for the late John Compton. Yeah. So John Compton, which is good. These schools are not in the state. But the rest of the schools, the old school plant, a lot of it. Very old school plant. The schools, Catholic schools, like the school in Marsha, it's old plants which you have to continue, redo, help, and do maintenance. So I must tell you, the state of schools or the infrastructure of the old infrastructure is deplorable. That is a fact.
Fair enough.
We prepared a complete analysis of all the schools. That document is there. Further, when we were there, we asked the principals to send their lists of priorities. Because we always told them, listen, we can't fix all the schools. We never made a point, listen, we'll fix all the schools. We said to the principals, bear with us, we cannot do all of it, but we'll do the best we can.
So you got a priority, you got a priority.
We always had a priority list. The principals have that list every day, they send a list. Every day, so much so. They used to send the list was so extensive. We gave them, I think, $6,000 a term or a year, I'm not sure, to do these little repairs. So they could change their locks, they could fix the toilet. That happened all the time.
But she is saying that she got no priority
That
list.
cannot be true. Apart from she not getting the priority, there was a comprehensive document in the ministry.
So she has a backup document, plus she has a priority list.
She must have it. I'm sure she has it, because the staff in the Ministry of Infrastructure would have gone to visit all the schools and prepare the list. Now, in conjunction with the principals.
Now, the reason why, because I heard in that initial report yesterday, and I reached out to some people, and I did get, sorry to belie you, Dr. Regobot, but we did get the priority list. Let's go to screen, folks, and show the priority list that she said she never got, and stuff she said she got only on the weekend. So, for example, can you just give me take me through this document and what it would entail?
You see, I knew that. I knew that.
So this is what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. That had to be there. Babino Primary School, repairs to roof and guttering. Dumpletti School, and the cost. I knew that had to be there.
So all of this
is there, and I don't know if you can. That has to be there before last week. Must.
There you go. Well, this document is actually from what you call it, from about June. Is what the document origin says.
Date, right? Yeah.
July, sorry, July
Yeah.
6, 2018. So there you go. July 6, 2018, Babonneau Primary, Dimpolet, Babonneau, Foursaw, Grand Riviere Combined,
And I
Grosley
want to
Primary.
compliment the civil servants who go and do that job, because all the civil servants that do that job, they have children in the schools too, and they're very, very interested in the state of the schools. Look, you see the Tiroche daycare, you see?
Yeah.
The Tiroche you're speaking about.
The Tiroche daycare.
Works to concrete roof. That was identified.
And the cost for all of these repairs.
And it's there. You understand? So I was surprised to hear the minister. Very surprised. All the schools, look, the Tiroche, your story on Tiroche. Gordon, and if you go there, you will see the Castries Comprehensive School,
Camille Henry,
which is a
Carmen Rennie.
special situation. Right. You see what I mean?
Castries
Comprehensive School, and that school is in need of massive repairs. Massive. That 280,000. That is not enough money.
A
for
drop
that
in the bucket then.
Drop in the bucket, but that would help, because again, that school is an issue.
So how is it that I can get my hands on this? It is from July 6th. You knew of its existence because it's been something that has been consistently done.
Since I was there, yes.
Right? And yet somehow she only got it at the last minute.
Well, I mean, it's not fair for the minister to blame the principals who work so hard, because I'll tell you something, Chris, some of these schools is real tough, eh? Now, on the other hand, I made a statement some time ago that I think that the parents should try to encourage the children not to damage school property.
Well, that's good culture.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But for me, my main point here is that folks can identify that since July 6th,
And I want
2018,
you to go on the Tiroche school, you will see.
Tiroche, let's go back to Tiroche
Tiroche daycare, is it?
right?
Yeah.
And let people see that literally this is another one of these things where government itself is being disingenuous. And what I don't understand is, further to that, throwing the principals and so on under the bus, because expecting that because they are public servants that they will not respond.
And they can't respond. They will not respond.
They cannot say anything. So,
So
and then
that's really sad. It's really sad, Chris, because these people work. I mean, the conditions are not good. Some of them, I can tell you. I can actually, when it wasn't good when I was there, it maybe probably got worse now.
well, they complained. I remember for the Castries Comprehensive, when the Labour Party was in office, they complained when the repairs that were to be done. The chief education officer had said that the repairs were requested for the modules near the playing field, and yet there were extensive repairs to electricals and the bathrooms
We did that,
need to be done.
We did that.
Now they complained. They came into office. They did as I just showed you all folks, did an audit of the schools. She knows, she herself, even if she didn't take
She
the
had an audit, and she did another one, because that's an
Right.
audit, you know.
another one.
Another one,
And
yeah.
yet still,
She doesn't know.
we are once again coming into school with a bunch of schools that have no repairs.
And you see, what annoys me, the government, speak the truth. Say, people, listen to me. We understand, we empathize, but we just don't have the money. Even though you can get the money for OJ Labs, that's another story. But we just don't have the money, and then be patient with us. That's what I did. I actually went to the schools, you know. I went to the company. I went myself, not with cameras. I went to the schools.
But you see, the difference here is the Ojo Labs. The difference here is the Lockerbie money. The difference here is the
Exactly.
money for Ernst & Young. The
Exactly.
difference here is the direct awards
Exactly.
to Fresh Start. So it's harder for them because they have to justify why Gail was agitating for an increase in allocation for garbage collection when she should have been agitating for an increase in the subsidy and the allocation to repairs for schools. So that is probably where all of the covering up comes in.
That's the problem. You see, the problem is not speaking the truth. And the problem is the spin. The government and the surrogates always spin.
Well, they seem to be just caught in it.
In the same spin.
Yeah, but it looks like St. Lucia is breaking out of its trance. But I will tell you something, folks. I saw this story last night. And as we go to take our first break, I want to say that I felt embarrassed and ashamed in the same way that I felt when I watched my 78-year-old father have to go up and stand in terms of the National Trust to lead once again. And I watched a 7-year-old girl. I couldn't believe she was 7 years old when she wrote this and writing this letter. And think of the shame that we all have to bear to be allowing this young girl to have to stand up and advocate while the rest of us are cowering. The time for us to stand up is now, because if not, we are failing our children. Listen to this 7-year-old girl speaking to the Prime Minister in a letter talking about the deplorable condition of the schools.
After witnessing the unsatisfactory conditions of her classroom, one brave 7-year-old decided to take her concerns straight to the top. In a bold move, Christina Robert, a student of the Mondidor Combined School, sent a handwritten letter to Prime Minister Alan Chastney expressing her clear disappointment.
The state of my classroom, it is not too good. The classroom brings rats and it leaks water.
An extract from Christina's letter reads as follows. My classroom somehow disappoints me, hence my reason for writing this letter to you. There are plenty of holes in my classroom roof. I feel terrible having to place bins to avoid us from getting wet when it rains. Recently, some improvement works have started at the institution. However, the 7-year-old says it has not been enough.
Well, they fixed it up a little bit, but it's still dripping water.
The letter continues by outlining a number of concerns which stem from the hazards present in the grade 3 classroom. It reads, my concerns are that with these heavy rains, that water can get into the electrical switches and harm one or all of us. My second concern is that water from the roof could damage all our books and school supplies that our parents have worked so hard to get us. My third concern is that the roof can come down on us at any time. I feel jealous when I hear my other friends from other schools talk about their lovely classrooms. When asked what motivated her carefully written letter, the young student was very clear.
I wanted to cover the holes. There are holes in the classroom. I wanted to cover it up so that water does not leak.
Christina confidently says that she wants to become a doctor when she grows up. Her reason was no surprise, because she likes helping people and fixing problems.
We have over $1.5 billion US of foreign direct investment that's committed to come to St. Lucia over the next 2 years.
How much is
1.2 billion
over the next 2 years?
next 2 years.
Starting
In January.
in January. Okay.
We have over $1.5 billion US of foreign direct investment that's committed to come to St. Lucia over the next 2 years.
How much is
1.2 billion
over the next 2 years?
next 2 years.
Starting
In January.
in January. Okay.
And this one really baffles me. There is no mention of the US $100 million, nor US $50 million loans from the Republic of China and Taiwan. The Prime Minister presents a budget, says to us how he's going to finance it. He says in there he's getting a loan of 100 million US and another loan of 50 million US, but he never says in the financing that he's getting those loans from the Taiwanese. Why not? Is it because our borrowing now will be more like $700 million and not $300 million as stated in the estimates? Because the estimate says that the government is going to borrow $300 million for the financing gap. But yet, the budget address speaks of an additional 150 million US dollars in loans that the government will get for projects that will start this year. Why is it not stated? Because if the $700 million is put in, and borrowing now becomes $700 million and not $300 million, the deficit will be widened, the balances would be widened, and debt to GDP would explode.
And those borrowings, they did not appear in the estimates. So his policy statement is saying one thing, but the estimates show another. Let me show you two sets of borrowings that total $150 million that do not appear in the estimates. Put up the first one, please. Yes. Development of Uanora International Airport. Loan agreement with China, Taiwan for US $100 million. You all heard this? You all heard this? They are finalizing, the airport, US $100 million. Could you show the other bit of it, please? That does not appear in the budget at all. At all. It does not appear anywhere. Then we have the other one, that the government has secured another loan of US 50 million to invest in road repairs. Y'all hearing this, folks? That is 100 million for the airport, $50 million for road repairs, and mind you, in the estimates, road repairs stand at zero. So Alan Shastney is fooling us left, right, and center. Go to the estimates, anybody, and check road repairs. You will see zero. But Alan Shastney is saying the government has secured a loan of $50 million for road repairs, not reflected in the estimates. Kakakal basket et mun Alan Shastney. So folks, this extra 150 million US is approximately $400 million. That is not joke going on there, you know. That is not joke going on there. Now, if you take that $400 million, you add to the 300 million which is in the budget, and you add the 50 that it took 2 or 3 weeks before the budget. Folks, the total, alarming, frightening, scary, and unprecedented $750 million borrowed in 1 year. $750 million in 1 year.
We've just signed a loan agreement with the Taiwanese for 150 million US dollars, which is secured by the $1.50 tax to continue the road works that people are seeing.
Terms of the loan have not been finalized, but the agreement to borrow the money has been made. I'm hoping that a mission is going to be going to Taiwan very soon in order to be able to finalize that prior to the commencement of the budget.
So, folks, I know the Prime Minister has given us the incredible instruction that the truth is whatever you believe it to be. But even if I want to believe, I have problems. So I'm seeking clarification from a financial mind and an economist in that I'm seeing a conflation where the Prime Minister says one time that we are borrowing money and another time that he's calling them investments. And I'm a bit confused how that works out. But you called the Prime Minister's budget, both this one and the last one, irresponsible deficit budgets. Explain how you've come to that position.
Yeah, I did. I did, Chris. And I did after looking at the figures. You see, the subject, you have to deal with it in terms of figures. First of all, when the Labour Party won the election in 2011, we said to the world that, listen to me, we are in a position where our deficits are alarming and we have to reduce them. You may recall we spoke about reduction in civil servant salary. You recall that?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you paid the price.
We paid the price, heavy price. Heavy price. Right. But what we did is that, and you know, yesterday I heard somebody call a radio station, and I know who, and I'm surprised to hear them sometimes speak about VAT. The Labour Party never said that we will not implement VAT. If you look at the Labour Party's manifesto, and you know, people just say things without facts. If you look at the manifesto, in the 2011 manifesto, you will see the Labour Party said that VAT will have to be implemented, although it's a regressive tax, and the Prime Minister at the time, Kennedy, said he doesn't like it.
Yeah, and he said that it was a regressive tax, right? But he would have to go ahead with it.
That's in the manifesto.
And Stephenson King also said that it was a regional convention that we had already signed on to.
And John Compton, in his first budget in 2006, said that he'd have to implement VAT.
So
I mean, but this is ready to have people who know better, just mislead people. The VAT officer said, what we also said is that in the VAT, we would ensure that we would have as many zero-rated goods or as many zero-rated goods or as many exempt goods as possible.
And was 126 or
the
something?
most in the region.
In the OECS.
In fact, the region. Not the OECS.
Oh, the region. Okay, all right.
OECS? You crazy? The region. Jamaica have none, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it.
So we did that. We said so. The IMF told the present government that they must reduce the exemptions. They told them so. They told us so, but I heard somebody say, because an ambassador tells you something, you must listen. An ambassador, eh? But the IMS has said to the government things, and the government doesn't listen. Eh? But we must listen to an ambassador.
That's the new reality.
Yes,
now.
yes, yes. Right. So let's get back to the borrowing. So we said to the government, we said to the people, things are tight. We have to reduce the deficit. How did we reduce it? We implemented VAT, and we cut down capital expenditure, and we cut down recurrent expenditure.
How?
Our ministers had to travel economy. And you can talk to a minister. We used to be, I mean, not me because I don't like to travel. Ministers who had to travel were at pains to the Prime Minister were traveling. Kenny used to make traveling look as if it was extracting teeth.
But I also know because, for example...
And listen, the calm driving. You see, the cars we have, the leader of the opposition has a car, has a vehicle assigned to the leader, not to me, to the office of the leader of the opposition. It's 11 years old, you know.
Well,
and that's how Kenny was.
But I can tell you, for me, I was working 4.5 years in creative industries. I even had an opportunity to get to meet with Nina and Drake at the same time with, I think, McNaught McLean in Canada. And I took a 2-star hotel and everything. And I was going to go, the total cost was $4,800. And I sent to office of the Prime Minister, and they said no.
Yeah.
Now, my point is, at creative industries, for 4.5 years, I traveled once for 5 days in 4.5 years, right? Obviously, the contrast now. Now, the point is that the deficit budget, the average person wouldn't understand the implication.
It's very simple. It's very simple. You are spending more than you make it. Very simple.
So what about those that will tell you, oh, it's justified because he needs to grow the economy, he has to take some chances?
No, you do that on the capital side. In the recurrent side is just money for normal things, for salaries, for traveling, for putting gas in the vehicle. That's what the recurrent is. But I'll come back to you. So how did we reduce that? To reduce it, you either have to increase revenue and reduce expenses. Right? We did both. We increased revenue with that, reduce expenses by cutting off unnecessary things.
But I also know
like traveling.
I know, for example, with traveling, that people like Minister Alva Baptiste spoke about making sure that the travel, if it had to be done, was the foreign governments that would invite you.
A lot of it. And Kenny didn't like that either.
Fair enough.
Right? So we cut off, and that's why we could not do a lot of things we wanted to do. That's why we had to spend less money to repair the schools, because we had to bring down the deficit. When we came into government, Chris, the deficit was nearly 9%, you know. When we left, it was 3.8%. What a 9% deficit means is that to every 9%, you're spending more, 9% more than you get in.
So for every dollar, let's say you're spending 9% more. And you reduced it down to
3.8%.
To 3.8%.
In the 4 years you're in government.
Okay, now why is that necessary?
It was necessary. Very good. Yes, necessary. Very good question, Chris. It was necessary because when investors are looking at the country, when the IMF, they are looking at the fiscal position, because it comes back to your ability to pay back your bonds.
Right.
If you have a poor fiscal position, you can't pay back your bonds, like happened to them last month.
Right.
And the borders had all kind of excuses instead of saying, we don't have the money.
Okay.
Right. Now, so it looks at paying back your bonds. It looks at how the investor will look at you and how people will lend money to you, because you have to pay it from your revenue. You have to pay it from your fiscal position. So what did we do? We reduced the deficit to 3.8%. Now, but whilst we were doing that, and that government, sometimes I don't understand what you're doing. They were very fortunate. They got something called a rebasing of the national debt.
Meaning what? Explain that.
That means that if your debt, and I want to go for that slowly, if your debt was 80%,
right,
that was based on a GDP of $100 million. What they did, the central bank, they increased the value of the GDP by including things they did not include before, by revaluing things. So the GDP got bigger and the debt remained the same.
So you look better.
Much better, although your volume remains the same. So they came from, I think, 80 to 60 something percent.
So then they look better. They
look much better.
With the rebase.
So if they had reduced the deficit, as I advised them to do, I said to them, and you know, when the guys were taking the policies, we were and I heard you balders talking some stuff. We advise the guys.
We'll get to him.
We say, guys, do not interfere. You are you're putting the fiscal in problems. Look at your spending, look at your revenue. Do not interfere with what's there. Continue to improve the fiscal, then you'll have more money for the capital. We said to them, do not increase the gas tax. Right? Because you had VAT already. Don't increase the gas tax because the gas tax is going to affect everybody at the same time. With the VAT, there are people who can go to the grocery store and buy and pay no VAT. The lower income people, zero-rated items. We told them, we said to them, do not do it. When you increase the price of gas, you farmers, fishermen, construction, leave the VAT and do not touch the VAT, but do not put a gas tax.
So if they just kept what was already in place, right? And let's say the Prime Minister and the government did nothing but just keep whatever the Labour Party policies yourself, Kenny.
I won't be talking to you now.
You wouldn't?
No, I'll be in my practice.
Wow. Okay. So now you call it an irresponsible deficit. But what is characteristically so different and vast compared to borrowing that has been done before?
The government predicted or estimated, because budget the estimate, I people making that excuse again. The kind of excuses people make about budget, I mean, I heard a guy say the budget was never financed. You think a man can say that? You think a man going public and say the budget was never financed?
You get away with it.
Oh my God. $300 million was the budget figure for borrowing.
Yeah.
Good. When the guys came into government, they found that we had arranged with the World Bank a public-private partnership for the airports.
Right.
We would have got the airport built for the same $150 million. We would have shared in the profits. It was calculated that we would have got $80 million worth of taxes for the period, and I think I'm not sure, but a few $billion
1.6 is what
over the 40 years in revenue.
Right.
Good. Without having 1 cent.
Not spending a dollar.
Yes, $1. And we would give them the same revenue stream from the airport departure tax.
Okay.
Good. Well, here's what had to happen. The procurement, you will not be able to give your friend any procurement to buy nothing.
So you wouldn't be able to give out your contracts to friends, family?
No, you can't give your contract to anyone. A foreign firm or the partner, and I must tell you, it was so attractive that 3 of the largest airport developers in the world had showed interest, and 2 of them had actually bidded. There's a bid. And they were asking, and I want people to come tell me I'm lying. That's why I want to find out. People say Philip J. Pierre, you lying. These bids, they already began to ask questions from staff about the bid. Because how it was done, it was the IFC. And the IFC was, the thing was so well conceived that the Canadian government gave the IFC a grant to help us to put an airport deal together.
So the Canadian government gave money to the IFC
to put a grant, not a loan, a grant, to put this whole airport thing together.
And they put it together.
And then it sent it to market. The legislation was passed. There was a concessionary agreement prepared.
So that would have not only saved us money, but made us money.
Made us money, and the airport would have started a long time ago.
So, okay, that's the airport borrowing.
Right.
Where else is the borrowing?
Now, he said he's borrowed $300 million. Now, but he's also saying he's going for $50 million for roads. So what he's doing is that he's using the slack that he's got because of the rebasing. He's using that to borrow more. And why he's doing that, he's affecting the fiscal. Because he's continuing to spend, he's borrowing, and he has to pay on the debt he inherited.
But you're making it sound, to be honest, you're making it sound to the layman, like basically, it's like, let's say Chasney is gambling, he's lost, so he's going double or nothing, triple or nothing. Is that a fair analogy?
Very fair analysis. So what he's doing is that he's hoping that when he borrows more, right, is what you call consumption, is very well borrowing to increase consumption.
Right.
That's what he's doing. So he's borrowing more because he has the scope. So he goes to the market for bonds because bonds are borrowing, you know that?
Yes.
Bonds are borrowing. Don't wait, let me tell you about, I haven't talked about, you brought us up something about bonds are secret and that kind of
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Bonds are borrowing, okay? And so when you go to the bank and he's borrowing from the bank, he has a $55 million overdraft, which I hope he's included in the $300 million. He's borrowing in bonds, and now he's borrowing off the books because the Taiwanese loan is an off-the-book loan. That was not included in the budget. If that was there, the deficit, the overall deficit would have increased. And I think it was about 4%. The $150 million he's borrowing would have increased the deficit about 6%, which is dangerous. So he's kept it off the books. So when the IMF comes, they can't see it.
So then, okay. So it's so then, what are the implications? Let's say
the implications are the chickens will come home to roost in a year or so.
In a year or two, not 10 years down the line.
No, because he's got to put, when he gets the money, he said he got the money from Taiwan, he must include it in the books.
But what I'm saying is, people normally don't care because the economy is so bad and people are starving and they're hungry. They don't care about 10 years down the line. How does this come back to roost in 2 years? Like, in other words, okay, what are the penalties that can come out of this?
The penalties are our debt to GDP ratio will go beyond the prudential limits.
And then what happens? Like with
and
Barbados?
Then we have to go to seek structural adjustment.
So basically, right now, are you concerned that the IMF that you all basically ran a whole campaign on, we stayed out of the jaws of the IMF, are we back basically in the jaws of the IMF?
What I'm saying to you is that we need some structural adjustment. Because what's happening, you see, you can have all these glang projects, but if your fiscal is not in order, and that's the point I've been making all the time, your fiscal, that means your fiscal position means how your revenue sets up to your expenses. If that's not in order, confidence in your economy decreases. I tell you something, you know in Barbados, you might know that. You know the fiscal position in Barbados on paper is better than St. Lucia in terms of the current.
No. Well, the reason I cannot believe that, Barbados, I was just watching something about how in terms of their debt, that they are literally at the point of being next to Greece.
Yes, that's the debt.
That's the debt.
I'm talking about the recurrent revenue and recurrent expenses, the deficit.
So as bad as Barbados is, they actually, how?
In terms of the deficit, it's better. The figures are better than the deficit.
Right now? Right now. Okay, hold on.
Now, I'll tell you something further. Greece went to the IMF with an 8.9% deficit. We were there in 2011, we were 8%, something so. So it's, the job we did with the economy of St. Lucia, but the projections, Chris, look at the estimates, the projections are for 7.6%.
So
deficit,
right now, it's
without these new things.
So wait, it's 7.6% without the Taiwan.
I'm not the one who said so, you know. You see, when I say these things, I want somebody to challenge me, you know. I'm not the one who said so. Look in the estimates, look at the budget summary, and calculate the recurrent deficit. I'm not the one who said so. I didn't say that.
So Greece is at 9, we were at 8, we are at 7 point something now without the major borrowing.
Now, here's what he says. He says he'll secure it by the $150. Now listen what he said. He said he'll secure the $50 million loan by the $1.50 road tax. Listen to that carefully.
Okay.
Now, I want to ask the Minister of Finance, how much money is he collecting now on the road tax?
From what I know, it's supposed to be something like $18 million.
No, exactly. How much is he collecting now?
That I don't know.
No. You know why?
Why?
If he has to collect the 150, he'll have to increase the price of gas, and he cannot for political reasons.
That's why they put a cap.
That's why they cap it the way they cap it, because he is predicting an attack on something he has no control over.
You mean like?
And the more the price of fuel goes up, the less he can collect. And if he puts the 150 extra, the cost of gas will go up, and politically he's afraid to do it. So
then then the money to repay all of this or pay it back down if it goes awry. Now let's say all of this screws up and it comes up. What does a structural adjustment look like?
We have to cut expenses.
No. In practical terms, structural adjustment.
You have to send civil servants home.
Okay.
You have to cut on your social programs.
But they already
you have to cut on your
program.
transfers to other places. So after this, you'll be under more pressure.
Okay.
You have to send less to the city council. You have to send less, and that is why he is trying his best to send less to the hospitals.
Okay. Hold on for me 1 second. Let me just go. Let me just take in a bit of the bonds listing and let me see how you can tie that together first.
We are slowly building the economy. We are slowly building the economy. Not borrowing upon borrowing like the former administration did. It's not government borrowing money. Mr. President, When we took office in June of last year, we saw something happening in the market, financial market, the regional market, financial market, the RGSM. There was a rush for our bonds. A rush, I say a rush. And why was there a rush? Because there was a level of confidence in the new government. When bonds are due, the government has to show that they have the requisite principle to retire those bonds. And if these bonds, if the government doesn't have the money at the time, the government seek ways and means of paying those bonds. So when the Department of Finance took a look at what's happening with the cash flow as far as these two bonds are concerned, they realized that they will not have the sufficient monies to cover the bonds when it's due. They realized that they will not have the sufficient monies to cover the bonds when it's due. They realized that they will not have the sufficient monies to cover the bonds when it's due. And hence the reason we went out to seek the funds to retire those bonds.
The monies borrowed from the NIC, the $100 million, would be repaid in some 30 days?
Correct.
Where is that money? Where will that money come from?
When does it come from?
The $30 million, the $100 million. How are you able to raise those funds to pay back to the NIC?
Well, it's a cash flow thing, Tim. It's a cash flow issue. So if the government had the money off the bat, there will not be any need to borrow any money.
Minister of Finance says the opposition, in their attempt to belittle government, are chasing investors. Raymond says that making public the names of bond investors is preposterous and is a ploy by the opposition to discredit government.
This is unheard of. This is unheard of. This is classified information. Governments don't do that. Just imagine you have a Joe Blow out there investing a couple $1 million in that bond. You want the government to go ahead and list that person's name in the public? You don't do such a thing. But again, the gentleman, the opposition leader, either he doesn't know, or if he knows, it is deliberate in trying to scare investors, telling investors indirectly that you cannot trust this government because this government might just put your name out there in the public as an investor in the bonds. You have never heard of this thing? Absolutely. It is not done anywhere else. And for this to be a request of the opposition, to me, this is criminal.
It's criminal. Now, for me, I look at Ubaldas as the Minister of Cockalotic Affairs. I believe that the conviction that he's showing there, if I was a reporter and I did not know any better, and I'm a layman, I don't know any better, y'all are deliberately trying to make the government look bad when y'all are asking them to publish who is buying the bonds.
Yeah, you see, Chris, I not profess to be like you, but say I'm an economist. I don't say that. I say I know a bit about the subject. Because to be an economist is a serious thing to be. If you're an economist, you don't see them kind of things. Eh?
Okay.
You don't see this kind of thing.
Why?
Because it's not economics. No, it's not.
So, but hold on. But the point that he's making is, unless I am mistaken, is that y'all are saying, okay, so you're saying somebody bought the bonds, and you were asking...
But when you buy bonds on the regional security market, everybody knows who is trading. It's a trade, So you don't say you don't know who buys shares in the stock market.
Yeah, but he's saying that y'all, there's nowhere that
I'm putting it to you. If you look at the social economic review, in that time and our time, you must see it.
So, okay.
Go and look for it.
Because you said it in the clip yesterday. So again, I went and I got, thankfully, the Economic Social Review. So, folks, let's go to screen. And just so that everybody can see this Economic and Social Review of 2017, let me blow that up big.
Now,
right?
That's there. That's not our document. Eh?
That's their document because 2017.
2017, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So then I want you to translate, for example, this for me. What does this mean? What is this a listing of? Are these the people that are buying bonds?
Go again, you see.
No, are these not people?
Look at the names.
Look at names. So the published names in the Economic and so Malcolm and Anita Charles, 5-year bond. And no, Marianne Celia Francis, Anthony Bristol, 4-year bond, Government of St. Lucia Mohammed, and Kamal Osman Mohammed, Bank of St. Lucia bonds, Marie Ann Celia Francis bonds, Roebuck Properties, Winfresh Limited, First National Bank, Fix 8-year bond, Global Investments bond, So am I reading out something that's confidential?
No, and that is why I'm surprised that you ballers can stop these kind of things. And you ballers should know that government debt is a public document. That's the social and economic review. And then when you trade in the market, it's like saying people don't know who buy shares. When you trade in the market, this is a public document, and I want you to show the public where it came from, because the surrogates will say that's not true.
Yeah, well, that's the new thing these days. But this is obviously a public document.
Exactly. So So what? And I've asked him the question over and over again. Did the NIC buy bonds in the last government sale of bonds? That's all I want to find out.
Okay. So let's break this down. Come on screen. So the government borrowed money from NIC, and in order to repay the money, it got NIC to buy more from it.
Basically. I don't know how much, but that's what happened.
And the figures changed from 100 million now to an official 120. So the entire money, the government couldn't raise even 1 million. They said they needed $117 million.
Now, that's what I'm asking the question. I want to see how much did NIC buy from it? That's what I want to ask you, because I don't know how much. I'm not saying, I'm asking the question. You said you raised, he said it was oversubscribed. You remember you said so?
Yes.
How much did NIC buy from it?
So the analogy, and tell me again if I'm wrong, is that basically it's like me telling you, lend me $100 so I can pay you back 50.
Yes.
Okay.
I can pay you back 150. And I wonder why does you ballers do that?
But now I understand that NIC would have an investment portfolio, but it's obvious that between whether it's Frank Myers or it is what's his name, Winfred Pierre and so on, that they toe in the party line, right? From a prudent management standpoint, shouldn't the NIC pensioners and so on be concerned?
You see, I'll tell you what. You cannot, the NIC, the science of NIC is called an actuarial science, where the actuary looks at the future. Now, you don't know how long look at how long. I know you're a little boy. Look at you now. You have children already, right? You have a child already.
Yeah,
right?
child.
Now, your child will have a child, eh?
Yeah.
Now you never.
I hope so.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 23.
So she can have a child.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Good. You can't predict that.
No.
Never. Now, the NIC impacts on your daughter's child yet unborn. So even though the NIC now may sound like it has money, you do not know how long you will need that money for.
Okay.
And that is why NIC investment is so very important. So when the opposition says something about the NIC, the government should take note and pull back and come and converse with people instead of attacking. Because they have no idea how the NIC funds will have to be used in the future.
But you see, okay.
So if you're taking $200 million, $100 million in one chunk, you have to tell the people, listen to me, we have done, and I'll tell you what, I asked you ballers to disclose to the public the last accurate review of the NIC. He has never done it. It said that the NIC should try to the investment should have a return of at least 5%.
But they said, first they said
1%, and they were boasting, oh, we only borrow from NIC at 1%.
Wow.
And they were boasting, when their own document says that the return should be at least 5%. I mean, this government, in trying to spin, is just tying themselves up in a muddle. And you ballers should know better. Because what you ballers is saying, he knows it's not true. Well, how can you ballers say the list of bonds is private? But you just saw it. Where's it? Show it again. You just saw and give the heading.
Yep, let's go back to screen.
And show that the bonds, say what it says about bonds. Bonds, non-RSNGM.
Wow, okay. Well, maybe he thinks better with his pants off. I don't know. I guess it's one of those things.
And he says it, and he attacks me. That's what he does. He attacks me as if.
But you see now, that is where I want to get to. Because no matter what we say today, no matter what we come with facts, and I've even learned it now, when you go online, you go on Facebook, you talk to people and they are diehard supporters of this government. And there are 30,000 people in red and 30,000 people in yellow. No matter what you do, nothing can change their minds.
I think our footy changes, our
well,
footy to ruffle us.
all I can say, no, the reason I tell you that is because Because it comes down, and I keep coming back to this, that it is no longer about the facts. We've reached a point in our global history, because it's happening in the States with Trump, same here with Tropical Trump, that's not what seems to matter. What seems to matter to people are the psychographics. And with the Cambridge Analytica thing, it's the psychology. So the truth is, no matter what you say, right, people will still come and they'll say, well, you know, in the back of their minds, that man is still not a leader. Chasney is more of a leader. He's charismatic. He's outgoing. He's gregarious. One of these hacks there, Mercier, spoke about Chasney's height when he walks, you know. And one person said when Chasney spoke about the deported, the repatriated criminals, and he said Chasney did not lie. He just forgot to tell the truth. So so the reason I want to bring that to the fact that no matter what we say here today, right, it comes down to, that's a Pip is a nice guy, and Pip is the other, but Pip is not a leader. Labour Party say Pip weak. They're looking for Kenny to come back. Hilaire will overtake, and this, that, and the other, and so on, right? And then no matter what facts come out here, no matter how much you prove your competence, right? We're in an age where incompetence, for lack of a better way to put it in terms of Chasney, is what is selling. That's what people want. Even if Chasney is making bullets, right? People can blame it and they can ascribe it to his complexion, they can ascribe it to his name, to his family name, to his yank, or whatever it is, or whether he has money. But the point is, it's the politics of perception. No matter what it is that you are saying here now, as a leader of a party now, right? How are you going to change that perception, or do you even want to change that perception?
All right, Chris, that's a good question. First of all, I'm Philip J. Pierre, the son of a policeman father and a teacher mother.
Okay.
Good. I went to school in St. Lucia. I went to university. My father had saved his farthings in St. University. Mm-hmm. My father did that. When I did my master's, I took a loan.
Okay.
Okay. I have been in St. Lucia from that time. I opened my own business, a consultancy business. I've been doing that from 1990. I've worked for myself in opposition, very much like your dad.
Okay.
You know what that means. I remember getting a job from a foreign agency. Get a job. And the guy calls and says this to me. He said, Philip, I'm going to send you the email to confirm the job in a second. Just give me a while. He calls St. Lucia, and he calls somebody that I know very well, that talks a lot, that is a strong government surrogate, to say, I'm giving Philip J. Pierre Building Service to the job. And that person said, no, the private sector will not want to talk to me. That email never came. You know how long it even takes a second to come, eh?
Yeah.
It never came.
So
it never came. Sorry. So they tried to block me in my practice all the time. I practice as a consultant at my master's. I don't get involved in audit, and they try to block me all the time. They tried all the time. They tried all kind of rumors, all kind of things. They tried to attack people who worked with me, all kind of stuff. That didn't work. So I am accustomed to hard work, and my parents taught me one thing. They said to me, my parents come from service. My father used to walk from Castries to Denry as a policeman.
Oh, really?
Yes. Ask him. He's dead now. But
Castries to Denry?
Then yes. Walk. You see, my dad. And then he bought a car. The number of the car was 1123. You understand? My mother taught classes of 50 and 60 people. I went to the RC Girls School on Sunday before, to Felix's AGM. And my childhood came back to me. I saw the classroom where my mother used to teach. And she used to send people to pick me up, and I could sit down, and she would take me, because I used to go to RC school, and she used to bring me to sit next to her and tell me, behave yourself. And I sat there for a little book reading, behaving myself, till my mother took me up back home. So I'm St. Lucian. Understand, I live still where I was born, on the same property. Okay? My parents' house is still there. It is just above my house. In my parents' house, I have my office in there.
Okay.
That is me. I don't have any. I'm not in this business to bluff and mama guy. The people of Castries East have re-elected me for 5 times. Your dad was the one who put me in. And you don't know what he did? He called and said, Philip, I have a seat for you. I said, what are you talking about seat? I have no chair. You can ask him.
No,
yeah, ask him. He said, I have a seat for you. He and Lillian and Magna and a fellow called Cracker, a fellow called Stokes. These guys, these are the people.
Stokes.
Yes, Stokes. 1992, just left school. I had no fortune up to now. You understand? I
saw a thing on
that I'm the 10 richest man in St.
Forbes list, man.
Yeah, man. Forbes 10.
So you have to give a list, a detail of all the money and where you thief money from Ireland government.
Yeah, exactly. And where I hid it.
Where you hid it, right.
Because you know, the bank just took money from my mortgage. I still pay my mortgage. You see that?
I didn't know.
Yes, I am.
Well, you hiding the money somewhere?
Somewhere, boy, and nobody can find it. I'm stupid. Sorry.
But my point is, that's the traditional politician up until with this era right now.
So listen, so if you want me to bluff and yank and say things I wouldn't do and get on and talk nonsense and speak with an accent and tell people what I know I wouldn't do and lie and say I didn't mean what I said and then go wrong with a biff, all sorts of bluster and bluff and things, you won't get that from me. What you'll get from me is trust. What you'll get from me is honesty. What you'll get from me is speaking the truth. And what you'll get from me is my full commitment to the people of St. Lucia. Because I believe that the people of St. Lucia deserve better. And I come from a family of service, not from a family of richness. I can't tell you my father was a big businessman. He wasn't.
My father was a big businessman.
He was a policeman, but you know that. he was a policeman. You understand? So I am of St. Lucia. And I understand St. Lucia. You understand? I will not tell you also that my parents did the best. My parents did the best for me. And I love and respect them for that. They did the best for me. They educated me. And I want to give back. I don't want to be in politics because I want to fulfill some kind of divine thing that I have. That because I am this and that, or my father was and I must run St. Lucia. No. I want to run St. Lucia. I want to work with St. Lucians so that we can improve the quality of life of St. Lucians generally.
So I want to run this clip, and then after I run this clip, I want you to tell me how you differ, even if you differ, or where you agree with the sentiments expressed in the direction, because people are giving the Prime Minister a chance to go perceivably or conceivably in this direction.
Very interesting. Looking at, in fact, it was Economist when they had with the president of China on the front cover, the new world power. And it was talking about the different political systems around the world and saying, is it time for the Western world to accept that the Chinese model is a better model? You know, people want to talk about the lack of democracy in the Chinese model, but you have to give them credit. The fact is that you don't become the president of China without going to university and training to become president. So you have to be a mayor of a small town, then you have the region, and you have to go through a lot before you get to that position. Versus our democratic system, you know, in which you don't have to have any credentials. We're subsidizing people by reducing the price of rice, flour, and sugar. But everybody's benefiting from it. But not everybody needs it.
We can no longer continue to subsidize all sections of society under the guise of protecting the poor. This is simply unsustainable.
That is the only benefit left under the government for the poor people of this country. The only benefit. You have taken everything from them. Everything. You want them to pay insurance for health care. You ask them to get insurance on their plywood houses.
You have young girls having kids. First one, second one, third one. We watch them, we pass by their homes. We do nothing. I mean, I think government should have an intervention program. If in fact a young woman has a child, their first child, we need to sit down with their parents and everybody else that child has the capacity to be able to take care of the child. But how do you allow that same child, that same girl now to have a second and third child? Couldn't even take care of the first one. You pass by, that's your problem in the future. Wait a second, I'm not done yet. The third one then is jobs.
But before you go into jobs, is that an issue you should legislate? Because human rights activists will tell you that's a human rights issue.
Well, you know, Singapore deals with it in a particular way. We always want to tout how great Singapore is, but guess what? It needs to be a conversation. So the people tell you, well, then it has to be through an education program. But whatever it is, we can't continue year after year and allow the same thing to happen.
Because clearly that's not something that you can legislate.
Correct. Well, you can legislate it.
In what way?
You can say, if you want to, that if a woman has a child under the age of 18, okay, not even an adult yet, and that person goes out and has their first child and you help them, okay, and you help support that first child, and goes out and have a second child, should that person be entitled to keep that second child?
5, to stay alive.
Guaranteed reduction and eventual elimination of that.
And we're fooling ourselves, or that we're going to help them by reducing the VAT rate on food items. It's not going to work.
Now, the Third Star Award, or the Third Star nomination, is in Castries, which houses the most expensive toilet facility built by any government. It was built under Labour. More than $1 million spent. The people of the boulevard in Marshall waited 20 years after installation of a sewer system by Romanus Lansico, only to receive just a public toilet. Rather than making a change in the landscape of this community with some progressive thinking and expressions of the people's dreams, Labour made no bones about its biggest investment in a toilet facility as a response for the people. So as of now, what I've found as Minister for Local Government is many toilets all across the country, and some of them willing and ready to take in the amount of shit that Labour is talking.
Now, I deliberately put together a clip of the Prime Minister and the person who ran against you in the last election, who came within whatever vote margin, obviously did pretty well compared to mayors the last time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
She only got 70 more votes than mayors.
Oh,
a lot of
okay.
people look at the figures.
Okay.
We got less votes. And a lot of people look at the figures. I'm glad you brought that. The lady only got 70 more votes than mayors.
Okay, but my question is this. Let's say hypothetically, the
She
Labour,
did better. Okay,
yeah, let's say the Labour Party did an internal poll. It went and it did a poll, not internal poll. It conducted a poll, and the people came back and they asked what were your thoughts and feelings on Philip J. Pierre and the issues and how the United Workers' Party handled things like 5 to stay alive, can you eat laptops and so on and so forth. And they told you, look, if you adjust your PR, become a more gregarious person, right? You know, if you're more outgoing, if we see you at cricket with your Zooks t-shirt on, you know, taking your little WhatsApp videos and stuff like that, and if you start to do those things and you embrace the rhetoric of, for example, cutting the dependency of social programs or you know, public toilets or whatever. My question is, and it's you, if the genuine pollsters tell you, and the data is there to suggest strongly that if you take the Labour Party or your leadership style embraces that you will be Prime Minister, you will win the election, or this, are you willing to go in that direction?
Chris, I have a different moral compass. I have a different moral compass when it relates to people. I think that people are too important, and when you're in a position of Prime Minister, you're in control to a large extent on people's lives. Look at what's happening in St. Lucia because of the actions of the Prime Minister. Say $2 million to give a foreigner, and you have the guys on the Marshall Field, they have to pay $250 to use the lights at nights.
What do you mean, Lockerbie?
Yeah, Lockerbie, yeah, we come back to that. No, so it's a different moral compass. It's a different consciousness. It's a different view of life. My view of life is different because I'm not a wannabe. You should have heard, I mean, to hear Fortuna Belrose talk about toilets, it's sad. You understand? I mean, I don't want to go into any begin to degrade anybody. I mean, but sorry. I never use public toilets. That's what I say. But I'll never say that about public toilets. But let's get back to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister talks about the President of China and being having a degree and being able to run China because of experience. On that basis alone, I should be Prime Minister of St. Lucia because I have experience in 3 of the biggest ministries in St. Lucia.
And you're qualified.
And and the free ministry. And you cannot have one spot of corruption over them. I challenge them. They've done several things, audit of violence, bridge of kind of thing.
Hold on, so hold on. So as we speak, and I'm stopping you right there. In terms of if they, and you can challenge, you saying you're challenging them to find where you've given to friends or family right? If you're direct awards, I want to see looking for direct awards, looking for conflicts of interest, feeding your own business or your own family business.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Or my relative.
Or your relatives.
Anytime.
Any of that. Okay.
The fact. Finish.
So that said now, my point is, when you look at this, and this is what is running St. Lucia, right? Are you willing to change to accommodate that?
No, I can't. My moral compass is different. My moral compass, what makes me click is different. I can't, even though I try. So you won't find me bluffing people. You won't find me just killing my teeth and when I'm not laughing. Or you won't find me changing my accent. They say that, somebody say, I can speak. Haven't you understood what I said today?
Yeah.
Have you had any problem understanding what I say? But because I don't say different accents. But everything I say, people can understand. Because that's me. That's Philip J. Pierre. That's coming from the soul. That's coming from my moral compass, my upbringing. My home trade, that's what's coming from me. I'll tell you something. He said something about subsidizing basic food stuff. Again, the literature is wrong. He's wrong. There's a concept called the Giffen Goods concept. Giffen. That says when your income level increases, you use less of the basic goods. So the people who have money will not buy the things that we're subsidizing. They don't use white flour again. They use wheat flour. We took up the subsidy on wheat flour. They don't use brown sugar again, some of them. They use either honey or white sugar. That's what. So when he's saying that if you subsidize these products, you subsidize everybody's line. Because the theory is wrong.
So now you have been one that has said you can lie to get into office, but you can't run a country
and that's
on
his
lies.
problem.
But Hedata, so far, is he not still in office? Is the country running on lies?
Well, you have to ask the people who defend him, that the surrogates. So, and we get back to the situation about all sectors subsidizing. That is not true. Because how many people, rich people, buy dry biscuits?
What do you mean, cricks?
Yeah.
Cricks.
Exactly. Because when your income increases, your consumption patterns change. There's a fellow called Veblen who did a complete study on that. You both should know that if he's an economist. so he should know that there's the concept called the Giffen, Giffen. And anything I say, I want people to go and check it. Go and check it on Google. Go and Google it. Giffen, the Veblen. They did a lot of studies on consumption patterns. Further, he said something about children. And if you must legislate to take people's children. Listen to me. Poor people, they believe that their children are their what do you call it? Baton VSO. That we see about them when they are small, when they are old. What you have to do to instill in young people is responsibility. You have to instill in them love for themselves, conflict resolution. You have to tell them and you have to train them when they get pregnant from an unfortunate affair. You have to take them and train them, not legislate them. How can you legislate against poor people? What you'll do? You'll tell them if you have 2 children, what you'll do? You'll have a one child policy.
Well,
that's what he says. In fact, he said he liked China. And I'll tell you something.
Well, that's probably why the Chinese are coming.
Possibly. I'll tell you something. Do you know in St. Lucia we are in a situation where our population is not growing enough?
We underpopulated.
Yes, because some of the schools have to close.
Yeah, common entrance 7 years ago was at 5,000. Now it's 2,200.
And some of the schools, St. Lucia has the highest ratio of schools. That's something he doesn't say. The World Bank says all the time. We have the student teacher ratio in St. Lucia is very high because there are less children in the Marshall School. There are hundreds of children.
Yeah. Okay.
So when instead of trying his best to see if he can have proper family values, proper family structures, and help the pregnant people, help pregnant women when they have children, re-educate them like the Smiles program, send them to learn certain things, educate them, talk to them, be in connections with them, connect with them, show responsibility to fathers. Talk to them because they are human beings, they have feelings. Not because they're poor and they live in the Marshall Boulevard that you must believe they're lesser than you. They have feelings, they feel, they understand, and they love. They hate too, but they love also. And that is the difference between me and them. Because I'm not going to pretend. I live at Waterworks Road or in Enchibo. That's where I live, and I'm proud to say I live there. I'm not running away. If I couldn't take a loan and go and buy a house in Cap Estate, I could have done that. I have no problem with that. I love people who live up there. I love people who live in Marshall. I love people who live in Enchibo. So I have nothing to prove. My history and my history will speak for itself. So when you have somebody like Fortuna, and Fortuna knows very well that the toilet wasn't built by me, you know, in terms of I say build a toilet. From since the days of Joseph Daisy, the people in the Boulevard want a toilet. She talks about she's lying. There's no sewer in George Charles Boulevard. Go and tell me how you can run a sewer there. Do you know George Charles Boulevard?
I know, I've been.
Tell me how you can run a sewer in there.
But I don't see the space.
Tell me how.
I don't see the space.
But now, I'll tell you what. She's lying, and I'm using the word lie in a real, she's lying. The toilet in the George Charles Boulevard was built after the Caribbean Development Bank sent down experts to do a social and economic review of the situation. After the CDB had meetings with the residents, and the residents told them what they wanted. After the CDB had asked the government to put together a maintenance plan, and the government agreed through the SSDF, that time it was called the Poverty Reduction Fund. Spider wanted to open the facility. The facility was built with plans by a local engineer approved by the CDB. The CDB came down here during construction. They thought it was one of the best projects because the World Bank, when they were doing the Marshall Walls, the World Bank was ready to put money to build a facility because they thought that was one of the greatest needs for the people of George Charles Boulevard.
Well,
and Fortuna is talking about raising their hands and talking about shit.
Well,
now further, I'm sorry because I get emotional about that. They allowed the facility to. I heard Peterson Francis, my friend, laugh at it. I don't know if you laugh as if they had more people watching the what he said?
Watching the toilet facility
from their homes. Let me tell you how that's not true. And I'm surprised at Peterson to say that. Peterson should not get carried away in that because he knows better. The facility was opened by the UWB.
True.
It was opened by Spider-Man Tooth. He opened the facility. And further, when they employ, they send the Scottish City Council, send the deputy mayor to hire people to work in the facility. They didn't have the courtesy to call me and tell me, parliamentary rep, can you recommend somebody? They had the people themselves. They did everything themselves. I know nothing about it. I was just told by my contacts that, boss, that person working out a job. I say, I can't help you. Go to the city council. So when he says that we are paying people to watch it from their homes, that's not true. He was the ones to be watching from their homes because they're the ones to employ the people.
Unfortunately, like I said, we reach a point where facts seem to matter.
And this is serious. Because right now, they've allowed the facility. And I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to write the CDB and tell them that the facility that they finance, based on our input, which was acquiring the land from the Alexis family, the government is allowing it to rot. I'm going to do that. Okay. And then you hear him say I write bad things against our St. Lucia.
Okay, we're going to take our final break, folks. And when we come back, we're going to deal with the pressing issues of the day.
I want to be able to go ahead with the demolition of the Printry, Parliament, and the courthouse. Let's go ahead and demolish the customs building and sheds 1 and 2. The Printry, as I said, we've been in discussions about privatizing the Printry and doing a joint venture. So we will be hopefully announcing very soon who that joint venture partner will be. Having a Printry in a prime location like that doesn't make any sense. And so one of the things I'm trying to get done as quickly as possible is the demolition of the Printry building, the Parliament building, and the courthouse. I'm hoping to be able to have that done before the end of this year. And the goal in our plan was really to keep that as an open space and to develop it as a park. I want to be able to go ahead with the demolition of the Printry, Parliament, and the courthouse.
Cabinet. I don't think they know what they're about. Because if you are going to demolish what the country owns already, this is already what we own, what St. Lucia owns. We own the printery, we own the courthouse, we own parliament, you know, we own sheds numbers 1 and 2. These are things that state own already. We don't owe on. Now when you're going to demolish, have you put mechanisms in place for replacement? Because you need a printery, you need a courthouse, you need parliament. Is it that the government is not going to have parliament anymore? But tell us, where is the replacement? To me, it should be the other way around. If you notice, well, you want to renovate or you want to demolish, make provision for reconstruction.
To me, that's a bad decision. The reason I'm saying that, and we already have a square, we don't need a rectangle right now there because we already have a square.
It's better to leave the courthouse, the parliament and the pantry where it is. That's the best idea I see for myself.
The decision making of moving the courthouse and the pantry and the parliament, I am not promoting that. The courthouse having enough space for the judge, the magistrate to park. Why take out the courthouse and rent a place where that money we can do something else with it? Why take out the courthouse there and rent another place?
Do they have the money to complete some other projects, major projects? But how you tackle that? Castries will be empty for a very long time.
Now, I have been at pains, and I think even our reporters have been at pains to find proper clarification for the justification for knocking down the buildings now, the budget or where the money is supposed to come from for knocking down the buildings. But you said something in a press conference that the Prime Minister is acting like a king. And it sounds like good political rhetoric, except that when I chase down this particular thing of what's going on behind Her Majesty's prison and so on, first of all, I was happy to get this, and I'll go to screen, to see that old man Michael Shastney, the Prime Minister's father, seemed to be directing or involved in whatever was going on. In what capacity? Up to now, I still can't figure out. So I was trying to understand why he would have any standing if it is not some sort of a monarchy that was here. And then I stumbled onto this, right? And this is from The Voice, writing in The Voice of the 9th, right? The 1st of September. After 30 years of deterioration and neglect of Her Majesty's prison on Bridge Street in the city of Castries, government is now in the process of resurrecting a part of history. Resurrecting, folks. Within the next 30 days, a transformation of the former prison should be completed by way of a major cleanup. Okay? Once the actual prison has been demolished, more recent structures which house the police officers and which were apparently badly designed and were vacated by the staff over 5 years ago will also be demolished, making room for a new OECS court and a state-of-the-art police headquarters. So my question to you, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, is what do you know about this project?
Nothing.
What do you mean?
Absolutely nothing.
So you're just like Spider then?
No. Spider's supposed to be the cabinet.
But Spider said that he's in the cabinet and he heard about it, but he didn't know about it.
He heard about it, but he didn't know about it.
He heard about it, but he didn't know about it.
And you see, I have a lot of respect for Michael. I call him Michael, that's what we call each other. But you know, even Michael thought so, he shouldn't write so.
Why?
Because it's not in his purview. Is he a consultant to the government?
Well, you spoke about a monarchy, so the father of the king was the king. So my question is...
And that's dangerous, you know. I mean, we laugh at that. That's dangerous, you know. Because what is happening there, it shows a level of alienation that is unsurpassed. You know, because here you have, first of all, the government cannot break down buildings like that without public notice.
Yeah, but there's no, I went on the site, there's no signage.
There's no, first of all, you should have a signage. Secondly, you have to get planning approval.
Mm-hmm.
Then there must be notices. Check the Planning Act, because there are things like dust that will happen because you have a concrete dust. You have to do it. You have to do these things in the night because you have schools, the Ave Maria School on the other side of the road. You have a church. There's going to be noise. There's all kind of things.
But
you know.
Not only is there no signage, but on top of that, another set of direct awards. It looks like
exactly
nothing went.
There was no tender for how much does the demolition cost, and further. And the government is doing something that's dangerous. They are doing, and very soon, we are going to be going to the parliament to ask the government where is the legislative authority to borrow the $50 million they borrowed for for the roads in Miku. What the government is doing is dangerous. They are doing a number of below-the-line transactions.
Explain.
They're doing what is called design finance bill or finance bill, where they borrow money from outside, don't bring it through the books, but they pay it from the books.
You mean like with regard to the Fresh Start Road for the Alan
That
Shastri
is
Highway Drive, right?
What you see there is the payment, but you will not see the legislative authority.
Wow. So then with this now, I noticed.
So there's no scrutiny.
Yeah, I see Concreto, that's Donnelly. Same person that did the demolition for St. Jude's and the knocking down of the homes of the people at La Clery, right? I'm also seeing Fresh Start, and we all know who that is. I'm even seeing A&M trucks there as well, and Nationwide, and all of these are essentially the government's favored contractors.
You see, I'll tell you something, Chris. You don't have no issues with these individuals. The issue is the government, not with them.
Agreed, understood.
Yeah, I mean, like when people attack somebody for doing an audit, I mean, the government comes in there, you'll say, I'm not doing it.
Understood.
Right. It's the government policy. If the government decides in their policy that they're doing direct awards and they're giving it to who they want, you can't blame the people who accept it, It's the government, and we seem to be shifting the blame from the government, making excuses. The government should know better. The same way the government should know that you cannot go and build a road in excess of $10 million, financed from a private source, and you haven't come to Parliament for scrutiny. You haven't come to Parliament for discussion. Parliament knows not all what Parliament will say at the end of the year is an allocation. So when we came, we found the A&M roads you're talking about, which they did the same thing about. We brought it to Parliament. And every road that we did through the DFC measure, Design Finance Bill, we brought it to Parliament.
So then let me ask you this now, with regard to change, with regard to Castries. I don't doubt that some of the buildings are old, that they need to be new buildings or whatever. I personally would like to see a new courthouse. Exactly where the existing courthouse is, I don't see a problem with the location, building a new one, whatever. First of all, I have seen no allocation in the budget for doing this work. That's one. Second of all, the printing press, it will be needed at least for the next 50 to 100 years. The building is paid for, and the printing press was refurbished, or a new printing press was installed in 2012. Also, you have 24 workers there, and in terms of the Parliament building and so on, to take out prime land, like he said, prime land, to put a park, right? To me, it just looks like an excuse to just pay out more money to people in the hopes that it'll come back to you in some way by election time, whenever you want it.
That's the question you asked now. Says, I remember that was the same government that complained when we broke down the asbestos building where the police are called. So remember that?
Yeah.
They complained bitterly, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
Right now.
So then my point is now, with regard to Parliament and all of these buildings, right? Isn't that something that should be, how should I call that, nuanced? They should be bringing in, consulting with people and so on. Isn't there a process that should be followed?
There should be a process. There should be a plan. There should be a schematic design. That's what we plan in. But that's the problem with the Prime Minister. He believes he can do whatever he wants, and his excuse was, we lost our right to speak on the 6th of June. Really? The Prime Minister actually said so, A party that got 37,000 votes, he said that we lost our right to speak for the 6th of June. So you must say what? First of all, Parliament doesn't meet. Now, as far as you tell me, the cabinet ministers, they are not aware of what's happening. Structures have been broken down. The Prime Minister's father is the one announcing to the nation that they're going to break down a building. His father. That was.
So then, let me move, because I know time is on us in general. But let me move to the fact that the Cayman people are here right now. You know, and I know, we've both gotten word that the people for Cayman and OKEU privatization are on the ground. Let's take in a little short snippet of that.
The guys are requesting from the government of St. Lucia a grant of $69 million US. Mwen di sa en créole. Pour yo commencer, déjà yo jamais de gouvernement $69 millions américains qui ka vini yon 186 millions à la han.
It's a question of conscience, ethics, and all of that toiling.
They want the OKEU empty, completely empty, so that all the equipment that Victoria Hospital had already begun transferring to the OKEU, all the dialysis machines, all ALL, all furniture, everything has to be removed.
We want to be able to have a final agreement on the structure of healthcare by the end of this year, and that we want to have the new regulations drafted and approved in Parliament before May or June, and then we want to be able to implement the new health insurance and the new processes within healthcare by the end of 2019.
They want Victoria Hospital converted to a polyclinic. Now you all know what that means. At a polyclinic, there are no beds. La pani couche a polyclinic, c'est passé yo ka passé ou. No beds.
Every day and every new service that we put into OKEU before the health insurance comes in is at the government's cost. Right? So if in fact we were to fully operationalize OKEU by the end of this year, which is what the intention is that will be on the P&L of the government. Right? And there is no allocation. There's $10 million in the allocation to be able to do that. So it means that automatically that I'm going to have to find extra money from other places. So the quicker we can get the healthcare insurance implemented, then it helps offset some of it, not in total. And I've made it very clear. Health insurance by itself will not cover all of the operating costs of your health services. So we have to find additional revenue streams, and that's why the offer by Healthcare City to be able to upgrade OKU to a tertiary level facility, providing services that we don't have. And the question, and it's a fair question, why them? Why them? The point is that they're doing it.
At some point, the talking has to qualitatively transform to some other form of perhaps reasonable action that can forcibly make them understand that enough is enough.
So then my question becomes now, what is, because Dr. Anthony was here yesterday, but you are the leader of the party, of the Labour Party. What is the Labour Party's position with regard to Cayman, with regard to privatization of the Owen King EU, especially in light of this national health insurance plan that the Prime Minister says optimistically or ambitiously would be in by the end of 2019, and it looks like Cayman is going to be taking over as soon as next month?
First of all, the Labour Party is very uncomfortable with the arrangements with Cayman Island, with Cayman Health City.
Yes.
We believe that if the government wanted to speak to somebody, why not speak to our friends in Martinique? Right now, St. Lucia owes the Martinique hospitals probably in excess of $1 million. Why aren't we speaking to Martinique?
Okay.
Why aren't we speaking to Cuba?
If you want to go in that direction.
If you want to go in that direction, I mean, at least some kind of strategic alliance, some kind of sharing of experience. Why are you going as far as Cayman? In terms of, in terms of space, in terms of logistics, Martinique is a few minutes away from St. Lucia. You can jump in a helicopter and go to Martinique. You understand? So the government should, and these discussions are already taken place because Martinique is Europe in the West Indies, and the Europeans are the ones who give us the money to build a hospital.
Oh,
You understand that? What I'm saying to you is that instead of running to Health City in Cayman, why isn't the government trying to look at a strategic alliance with hospitals in Martinique or our friends in Cuba? Why are they not doing that, Chris?
So why is it such
the obsession of Cayman?
No, but why?
He said something. Sorry, he said something about. He said that they have to they cannot find money to fund the hospital, but they will give the service, they'll allow Cayman to provide the services they can't fund. Some mix up thing like that.
Yeah, word salad.
Yeah. So who will get the money to pay the Cayman? Who will pay Cayman?
I don't.
Who will pay Cayman? And anytime you go with Health City, you're talking about profit. And the Prime Minister speaks about health as if the government is doing people a favor. This Prime Minister believes that when you create social services, what the economist calls public goods is a service. Public goods are not a service. Public goods is a right that the public have access to. And if we want to take the Labour Party, will make the beach a public good. You see, now that's what public goods are. So health is a public good. The Prime Minister said, he said the Afrolis should be grateful because the government gives them $15 million. But Lockerbie is not supposed to be grateful. Ojo Labs are not supposed to be grateful. If you have to add the money the government has spent in these places, we could have funded the hospital.
So then that brings me to my next question. Why is the Prime Minister keen to have a public-private partnership with our health institution when now I understand that the European Union will be sending down people to evaluate that project, and they may even make certain demands of us, and yet at the same time for an airport, he doesn't want to do a public-private partnership?
That's the question. That's the major question. Why are you running an airport? You don't want to do it by PPP, but you want to put the health. And PPP has profit. That's the word, profit. So anytime the Cayman people come, they have to get a profit. So that means the government might fund the profit.
But I thought the country was broke.
The country is broke. So who will fund the profit? You and me.
Wow.
And he speaks about health tourism. So all right, let's agree with him. Okay. He says there are not enough rooms at the OKU.
120.
That's what he says. After they're the ones who cut the finger. Eh?
Right.
He was in the government when the finger was cut. He was there.
Right.
But he's forgotten that. I forget. 120 beds. You say not enough room. Now supposing you have health tourism and all the beds full now, where locals will go?
Well, they stay there. They stay there. Yeah. But you see, even with that now, I just got word from a health official this morning that they have been tasked now, because Cayman is insisting that they want a tertiary healthcare facility, that they now want to make St. Jude's and the Dennery Hospital and the Soufrière Hospital primary facilities, because Cayman makes their money off of tertiary services, so tertiary facility, and St. Lucia will be without secondary care. So if people want to go to a health center, fine. But if there's a mass casualty, a car accident or plane crash, or people are in times where they need immediate surgery for broken arm, there's nowhere for them to go. And now, because of the delays at the St. Jude's Hospital, the university that they were looking to encourage to go down to St. Jude's, they want to now give them Victoria Hospital.
Well, they say there's no smoke without fire. But let me tell you something else. That's even more dangerous at what the Prime Minister is doing. The Prime Minister is saying that there is that health, right? So he's going to put health in private hands, private hands. Yeah. And he's talking about health insurance.
Yes.
Up to today, he hasn't said to us what insurance companies he is speaking to.
But not only that, but the plan is to come in for 2019.
What insurance company? What insurance company?
I don't know.
Eh?
I don't. And the chamber.
Shouldn't there be a tender?
But the chamber was saying they were supposed to have an audience on Friday where they were going to come and present about health, and they cancelled that.
Yeah, they can't. But I mean, this thing's supposed. All right. Suppose the Prime Minister is fully transparent. Here's what a transparent government would do. You put a tender for health insurance for the people of St. Lucia. And you ask insurance companies to tender. Then you evaluate the bids, you have discussion, as we did. And that is very, very surprising. The government found in the offices complete health financing plans for the health sector in St. Lucia.
So were you all going to public-private partnership?
Never.
So,
and we started, because our position is universal healthcare, and we started it already with hypertension and diabetes. We started it. Our plan, what we're doing, we're in the point of discussion. The SLMEDA was involved, and health economists from Europe would want to put a plan together for us. Chris, this is hurtful. When you hear surrogates talk foolish about why are they finishing the hospital, it's hurtful. Because I'll tell you what, the Prime Minister found 4 options for health financing for St. Lucia, prepared by health economists from Europe, working with local expertise. There are people like Dr. Ziza Edmonds, Damien Gage, when he was the minister, came down and spoke about it. They were local experts. Dr. Edmonds is an expert in health. She was there. Stephen King was given the job of commissioning ZA. So these things are not things you pluck. When I'm talking about why the fish hospital, I mean, these things were things that were there. All the government had to do is discuss it, look at it. But the government, for their own reason, just cast all these things aside.
Well, you have a government, if there's one thing I can tell you, they're allergic to competence and they're allergic to best practice.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I mean, it wasn't, Chris, that wasn't done by politicians, you know. Not Kenyans or even Philip JPA, you know. Experts from Europe, the European government gave us a line. It's like the equipment in the hospital that was given from a lot. The European Union had a lot of $9 million to complete all the furnishings at the hospital.
And now they're saying they're
The
going
European government, and now you want to give somebody to make profit on it?
and then they say they're going to take it out. Now, I'm sorry to change subjects, but we do have a report that has just come in, and that is with regard to, yes, folks, you've been trying to find out whether it is real. The customs officers seem to have led the charge into the protest weekend. Let's take in this report from Tricia Lionel.
Hi, Chris. Well, we're here outside the Customs and Excise Department in Castries, and it looks like everything is normal. It looks like another Thursday morning, but in fact it's not. What we're hearing is that workers, or more specifically the customs workers, have called in sick today throughout the island. What we're hearing is that it might be a sick out, but officials within the CSA are saying that it might be related to stress, and they're hoping that they have a speedy recovery. Well, we'll have more on that later at 8 p.m. on our newscast. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Tricia. So, as of right now, which I am personally encouraged by, right, the solidarity is building. From my information from as far as yesterday was the customs officers were saying that they were doing that to send us a message of solidarity with the rest, with the doctors, with the nurses, with the teachers, with the nice workers, with all St. Lucians, letting us know that this was their encouragement towards the march or the strike action in terms of people showing their dissatisfaction with the government. So a sick out, I understand the only person at the airport, VG Airport, is Al Landers, Cambridge Analytica himself. Apart from that, all the rest of the customs officers seem to have the same stress.
Well, you see, and you can't blame them, Chris, because, you know, when Mary Isaac was minister was in the CSC, she did a lot of things that were wrong. But I'll tell you something. When the Prime Minister, and you ball this, Minister, what is Minister of what? Finance and Public Affairs.
Minister,
Public what?
Minister in the office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for finance.
And what?
And
before he is
public affairs.
And he's Minister of Public
That's for another show.
When you can see that there is no statutory board, and the cabinet memo, the first line is that, you know, I mean, these guys are crazy. The first line, the consideration of the bill the government created, you had the thing there?
Yeah.
Okay. And it says nothing, so, you know.
Well, it's a matter whether, but you see, the Prime Minister said the truth is whatever you choose to believe.
So, and the customs officer, I suspect, they're feeling the frustrations.
Well, I mean, the fact is that St. Lucians, and we are opening the phone lines now at 4560306. I know we've had a long discussion. It's very necessary. It took me a long time to get the leader of the opposition on the show, so I want to make sure to get in as many things as possible. But it looks like, and I've said it before, St. Lucians are an endangered species in their own country. It looked like we are being marginalized and forced into a role, or forced to play a role of subservience, where we can no longer aspire to tertiary education. We can no longer aspire to how do I call it? We can no longer aspire to do anything but to be part of this new model.
And work in a hotel.
Now we're going to be taking a quick break, folks. And when we come back, your calls are... Okay, folks, welcome back to Politically Insane Special Edition. And like I said, my name today is Non-Custom. To all the customs officers out there, no matter what anybody tells you, because I know what it is to go out and stand and protest by the side of the waterfront. I stand in solidarity with you, and many other thousands of St. Lucians do as well. And I believe this is what is needed. Good afternoon. This is Politically Insane.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hunt. Good afternoon, Honorable Pierre.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Today I'm calling in my capacity as the past president of the Museums Association of the Caribbean.
The who?
The what?
The Museums Association of the
Museums
Caribbean.
Association.
Museum,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Cyril Saltiber.
Okay.
And I serve as president of 2 years working with the museum at Government House.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard of the destruction of those 3 buildings in Castries, and knowing how hard a lot of us have worked, and when I say a lot of us, you have people like Mark Hennicat, again that name comes up, you know, lecturing us at our conferences about historic buildings. You have Gregor Williams, who have been pressing on these kind of things, Margot Thomas, Mr. Hunt, all those people. I'm still surprised that we're not planning even a bigger march to tell Alan Shastri, no, you just cannot touch those buildings. I mean, you can repurpose the buildings. You know, an example, you can take the Parliament House and say this is a good museum. You know, put some wax figurines in there of John Cummins and who have you. You know, the past parliamentarians who have gone past and make a lot of money from our tourism industry in there. You can do a lot of things with the buildings, but you just tear down our, you know, our history like that. We change the name of Vieux Fort from Vieux Fort to something else. At the rate he's going, somehow, you know, I don't want to sound like a politician because I call you know, as a quasi-curator. You know, you cannot just do things like that. And I want solutions to read a lot, understand what is going on, not just take those kind of things apart. Huh? You know, that Prime Minister is going to tear down buildings. And
Call it. It sounds like ethnic cleansing. It sounds like we are being Tipexed out of our own history.
Well, I'm going to actually tell Mr. Honorable Pierre, for once, I think we need to sometimes get off this comfortable fit of being nice, and I know you have, you know, your Her Majesty's honorable, you know, leader of opposition, and you cannot be a wild card doing anything, but somehow somebody has to stand up. And somebody may have to be incited to stand up.
Tomorrow, on Sunday, we have to show the world that we can show our numbers. We have to show, you know, people saying about standing up. Let us see tomorrow how many people will decide very peacefully. Because, you know, the Labour Party does not want, and I know I got criticized for that, but the Labour Party is not looking for any situation where the country will get into any situation that we do not want. We want the numbers, caller. We want the people to come out, and they must come out not because that they must come out on their own free will. If we can get 25,000 people in town on Sunday, you know what message that will send?
You will get more.
Well, okay. Well, let's see that happens. And
we'll do that, but you still need to sit down and get a psychiatrist for Alan to talk to him, because somebody might lose the temper. You have to understand that this man is going a little too far.
I understand the frustration.
But don't worry, we are coming to be.
I want to call the people to come down, come to Castries in a peaceful manner on Sunday.
We are coming. Thanks a lot for the good work.
Thank you, Cole.
You see, he made a point, Chris, about historic buildings. Do you know the house where I was born, the National Society, can't break it down?
The house where you're born. You can't
because of the historical
nature, but we can break down the parliament.
Yes.
Good afternoon. This is Politically Insane.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, I'm happy that Lucians are finally waking up, but it had to reach that state of disaster for us to open our eyes. I mean, time Alan is selling our V4, we should have been waking up, smelling the coffee.
True.
But
better late than never.
Yes. Yes, and St. Lucians, I'm glad that you all are rising up. I don't know if it's a little too late, but it's better now than never.
Thank you, caller.
Thanks.
Well, I, for one, have been fed up. But you see, I say what I'm doing when I'm doing this show. You know, 5 days a week, and you're saying, boy, I don't think I'll have content for 5 days a week. I told Choice that. I said, there's not enough. These guys are not going to. May say these fellas never stop. They never stop. When you finish, you look at one minister, then you hear Sarah doing that, then you hear Ezekiel doing that with the dam, then you hear that one giving that one a director award. I never see anything like that.
I want to come back to the thing about the leadership. And where people believe in a particular style of leadership, it must be glan, It must be talking with an accent. It must be
Well,
bluff.
the point is
it must be
the
fluff.
point is that the question is for you, right? Do you apologize for your style of leadership
No, I
compared,
don't.
compared to
I
Shastni?
cannot apologize for it because I said that's not my moral compass. I cannot be what I'm not. And,
And
that's
do-
why the people
and-
of Cassius East have understood.
But then the question is, do you want to be that kind of a leader?
No, I cannot. Even I want to be, I cannot. Masafei.
Good afternoon. This is Politically Insane.
Good afternoon to you, Chris.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to your political leader.
Yes, hi. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. Chris, I first want to thank you.
Why?
I want to thank you because, Chris, you led the charge. You started the one-man demonstration. You started opening our eyes. You started opening our ears. And right now, I want to compliment and give all my appreciation to the now political leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party, the former political leader of the Labour Party, all the 6 members of the Labour Party for staying in Parliament, for holding the fort. And now is the time, I think now the time has come, that you will have done all your hard work. And I'm encouraging St. Lucians. I don't want to talk about anybody anymore. I want to talk to St. Lucians. I want to talk with St. Lucians. I want to join with St. Lucians. Let us come together on Sunday. And unlike my own view that we should not stop the country, we should not block the country, but I believe that after Sunday, if we can have at least 15 to 20,000, that is what I'm calling for. If we can get 15 to 20,000 on the ground, on Monday, let the people take the decision, not the politicians. And I want to warn my political leader,
yes,
your heart is close to the people. I want you to keep that there, and I want you to listen to us, as you have been doing, and I want you to guide us accordingly, sooner than later. Have a blessed day. And St. Lucia, keep praying for Sunday. After you go to church on Sunday, get up and let us do what we have to do. As the political leaders say, let us show the world that we are not stoops, we are not foolish, we are bright people. We are people who have worked hard, we are people who know about slavery, we are people who will forget the past about slavery, but save our constitution and save our sweet land, St. Lucia. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. So, are you confident in what feedback that you've been getting?
Yeah. Chris, we've been around the country and people are fed up. But the surprising thing, some people are afraid.
Well, the point is...
Like they tell you, I'm there in your heart, like a number of civil servants. The civil service is frustrated. The civil service is desperate. The civil service sees direct political interference. The civil service, and the civil service, listen, we're with you, we're there with you, but.
Well,
I want to tell them they mustn't be afraid.
Well, we have run out of time, so I want to give you the last word before we go to the moment of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I want to thank you. That's the first time I've come on your program.
I was starting to feel a little bit discriminated against.
No. Thanks for
having me.
I
said I'll change my name to Andre Paul.
No. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I enjoyed it. But I want to tell solutions. Sunday is your day. You don't have to be a Labour Party person. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like Kenny Anthony, but you must like. You don't have to like Ernest Hilaire. You don't have to like Alpha Baptiste, but you must like St. Lucia. St. Lucia is above us. Our St. Lucia is under pressure. We have misplaced priorities. We have a government that is ready to spend $32 million for people to draw designs for sporting facilities. We have nothing against sporting facilities, but for God's sake, why don't you cut the grass in the Bexon playing field? Why don't you repair the playing fields in the country? Why don't you fix the roof on the pavilion in the Marshall grounds? Why do the Marshall people have to pay $200 to use the lights? Why don't you complete the Belgrave Court in Marchand? Why don't you complete the work that's in the Bexon field? Why don't you do that? Why the $32 million, you can't even maintain the stadium. You have a hospital in one, and in the school, and in the other one, you have it in a state of disrepair. You can't repair it. Why don't you do that instead of giving the money to someone? These are the government's priorities are upside down, and the people must show that they are dissatisfied. We want the St. Jude Hospital work to continue. We want the OKU to be open. We want improvement in healthcare. We want more transparency. We want more accountability. And we need St. Lucia to stop being the property of friends, family, and foreigners. I want to urge you to join us on the 9th of September. Everybody is invited. Wear anything you want, any color you want, but come join us and show your disgust. Thank you.
Okay, folks, it's been an extended show. Thank you for bearing patience with me and so on. I'll leave you now with